It's Friday, June 19. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton updated the country on the number of COVID-19 cases on the island.
As of today, Jamaica has recorded 12 new cases of COVID-19. That's over the last 24 hours, 12 new cases. This brings the total number of confirmed cases to 638. The new cases consist of 8 females and 4 males with ages ranging from 4 to 65 years. These persons, these 12 persons, are from St. James, 4, St. Anne, 2, Kingston and St. Andrew, 1, Clarendon, 2, St. Elizabeth, 1, Manchester, 1, and Westmoreland, 1. 9 of the cases are imported, 8 from the United States and 1 from Canada. The 3 additional cases are related to an imported case from the United States.
Dr. Tufton expressed concern that some individuals who returned to the island since the borders were opened are not following the isolation guidelines.
We have discovered in the last 24 hours that for the first time, 1 imported case since June 1, testing at the airport, discovering that it was a positive case. That person was extracted from their home, and subsequent tests of the family members in that home revealed that there are 3 positive cases in that home, which would have been transmitted from the person who came in. There is a fine. I think it's $1 million, up to $1 million if you're caught, and 6 months in prison. But again, we have not. I don't know of any person who has actually gone through that process. We have charged 1 person, but nowhere near the amount. What I would say is that we are going to have to step up the enforcement and the vigilance to discourage it. But frankly speaking, Jamaicans will have to appreciate that they need to live within the order in their own interest and the interest of their family members and community.
He made the observations during a virtual press briefing at the ministry's New Kingston offices on Thursday. 300 Jamaicans are slated to arrive in the island on Saturday as part of the government of Jamaica's controlled entry program. The Jamaicans will arrive at Port Royal via 2 cruise vessels, Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Sea and the Disney Wonder. All persons will be processed using the established protocols for testing, sanitization, and quarantine as would have obtained for all previous ship arrivals, including mandatory state quarantine until their test results are available. $27.8 million was paid out to aggrieved consumers for the 2019-2020 fiscal year by the Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC. Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, Alicia, made the disclosure during the contribution to the 2020-21 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives.
During 2019-2020, the agency secured $27 million for aggrieved consumers, resolving some 83% of the complaints it received. Of note, too, the CAC was also integrally involved in the resolution of the bad gas issue. Working in collaboration with our sister Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, the CAC to date has disbursed $21.8 million of the $24.5 million approved for compensation to motorists. This represents disbursement of 298 of the 381 motorists whose claims have been approved for compensation.
The minister noted that high on the consumer protection agenda for this fiscal year is the development and promulgation of the National Consumer Affairs Policy. The Parliament Joint Select Committee considering the sexual harassment bill zeroed in on the workplace when they met on Thursday. Places of employment are reportedly one of the most common locations where sexual harassment takes place. But as we hear in this report, the matter is not always clear-cut.
The Parliament Joint Select Committee examining the sexual harassment bill saw presentations from two stakeholders. First was from Douglas Siritan. He raised the concerns that the bill would be weaponized to be used as a revenge tool. There was also concerns about reputational damage arising from false complaints.
Section 31 of this Act seems to be a poor compromise that does not go anywhere far enough to prevent the weaponization of this Act. Section 31 deals with false accusations. It seemingly implies that after one's reputation is damaged and scarred or murdered, that the victim will then need to appeal to the tribunal, as indicated in the Act, or some court of law to adjudge against the accusation levied against them, and then to get justice from the imposition of this fine.
Clause 39 is what is to be properly referred to and not 31. It could be that at the time he was reading from an earlier version, but that is not so. And as it relates to false complaints, I'm looking on what was submitted to us prior to our sitting here. And the second point, with recent events in the global economy, we must take a duty of care to also protect people from false accusations and make it a criminal offense. And clause 39 addresses false complaints and says that where it is found that anybody who contravenes subsection 1, which speaks to the making of false complaint, commits an offense and is triable summarily in the parish court.
The HIV advocacy group Jamaica Network of Seropositives, Tajnali Shields, proposed some recommendations for the committee's consideration. She called for the expansion of the definition of harassment between co-workers.
In that same recommendation, if you look down at section 6.1, it leads it to where the person in charge of the institution becomes aware of the harassment. And we believe that that is too narrow. So aware of the harassment could be, take for instance, there's a situation where the harassment takes place every day in front of my employer, right? It takes place in front of my employer, and until I come forward and say to my employer, hi, this is what's going on, I have a problem with it, that is when action is taken. Now, it's not immediate action if that's what you're waiting on to take action. So when you become aware should not be when someone comes and makes a report to you. It should be, if you see this happening, going on in your workplace, then you should take some action on it.
Hold on.
And
but hold on a minute. Isn't that heading into choppy waters? Very choppy waters.
So
hold on a minute. Keep your powder dry. I see you in the workplace every day. Keep your powder dry. I see you in the workplace every day. You appear to have a very good relationship with Billy. Right? There are days when you are there, him hold you by the hand, whatever. Are you going to say that I am aware? You could always deny it at a later date. You could say no. I believe that the point of awareness ought to be, you know what? And maybe it's not unwelcome too. So we have to ensure that we are careful with that.
There was, however, some caution from Justice Minister Delroy Chuck.
Human relationship is very complex. And to ask that the workplace be responsible for the sort of what you are really calling for paternalistic endeavors or social engineering at the workplace. It's a call that is extremely difficult, to ask the workplace to be responsible for that sort of human relationship and promoting it. They can do it informally, but to impose a burden on them would be almost impossible.
The committee will continue to meet in the future to examine the clauses of the bill and to take on board inputs from stakeholders. The sexual harassment bill was tabled in Parliament on July 9, 2019 by Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, Olivia Grange. The bill proposes to ensure an environment free of sexual harassment as well as mechanisms to deal with the issue. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness delivered the keynote address at the groundbreaking ceremony for Catherine Estates on Wednesday.
The pandemic has really affected the development of the country. The economy has taken a hit. And I know that as I see people gathered here, I know many of them are worried. Where am I going to get the income to afford the houses that we are building here? I know many of you would have been laid off. Many of you would have been put on half pay. Some of you are now staring redundancies in the face. So the economic challenges that we have has not escaped me as Prime Minister. And so we have to restructure the government to ensure that we can focus on our economic recovery while at the same time maintaining the successful management of the pandemic. And in a sense, because we have been successful in managing the pandemic, some people might feel it is time to relax. Now is not the time to relax.
The Housing Agency of Jamaica and the China Harbour Engineering Company will be building an integrated sustainable community, providing 1,650 housing solutions, inclusive of 850 duplex studio units. Gabrielle Thompson takes us through an expanded edition of the Business Report.
An increase in temperature and a spike in complaints and queries to the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, about skyrocketing electricity bills. JPS says it has recorded an approximately 28% increase in bill queries, but alleges that factors such as depreciation of the Jamaican dollar, rising usage, and fuel costs were among the suite of considerations. Minister of Science, Energy and Technology, MSET, Favour Williams, says she has asked the Office of Utilities Regulation to conduct an audit of JPS. Minister Williams says this comes after, quote, the unprecedented level of complaints about high electricity bills, end quote.
In addition to having meetings with JPS to understand the magnitude of this issue and to see how we move forward, I've written to the OUR to ask for an audit of the situation that has resulted in such high bills. Cabinet has also summoned JPS to a meeting at the next meeting of Cabinet on Monday. As we move forward with the electricity sector, we must make it easier for customers to know how much electricity and the cost of that electricity they consume as the month progresses, so that they may make changes in their consumption if they want, and so that there is no negative surprise at the end of each month.
She was making her sectoral presentation in the House of Parliament on Wednesday. The Energy Minister also called on JPS to demystify electricity prices.
Also, I am calling on the regulator not to be afraid to examine decisions made in the past to see if those decisions continue to serve the best interests of Jamaica. We, being in the ministry, JPS and the regulator have an obligation to demystify electricity prices so consumers better understand the product they're buying and have more control over their purchases.
In May, the utility company indicated a 44% increase in complaints of high bills between April and March when compared to the same period last year. As a result of the coronavirus pandemic, the closure of schools and the government's preventative work from home orders, more Jamaicans stayed indoors, leading to an increase in energy usage. The electricity provider has indicated that this is one reason for an increase in residential bills. Despite the complaints, JPS is denying that it has a defective billing system. The utility provider has welcomed the Energy Minister's call for an audit. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 972 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 73 stocks, of which 39 advanced, 24 declined, and 10 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 7 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, 1834 Investments Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, Caribbean Cement Company, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica. Trading firm were Berger Paints Jamaica, Carreras Limited, and Fosrich Company Limited. NCB Financial Group Limited was the volume leader with 3.8 million units, followed by Wisinka Group Limited with 1.7 million units and Jamaica Broilers Group with 1.5 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, June 18, ended trading at $140.69. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $105.41. The pound sterling traded for $176.72, and the euro ended trading at $160.13. Oil rose to above $42 a barrel on Friday, adding to gains in the previous session after OPEC producers and allies promised to meet supply cuts and signs of demand hit by the coronavirus crisis recovering. Brent crude futures were up 75 cents to $42.26 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed 96 cents to $39.80 a barrel. That's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
Let's now join Alicia Steele for the weekly entertainment recap.
What's up? Welcome to PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. I'm your girl, Alicia. Let's get into it. Reggae and dancehall big boys, Buju Banton and Vybz Kartel, is set to release their album on the same day, Friday, June 26, 2020. Their fans seemed very intrigued by the coincidence. Upside Down 2020, Buju Banton's first album in a decade, and Being Behind Bars didn't stop Vybz Kartel to release his new album of Dance and Divas. What up, Reke? Grammy-winning reggae artist Coffee is gracing the international market with so much pride, and I am rather proud. She is now on the John Legend album, Bigger Love, with a song called Don't Walk Away. She's the featured act on the album. Proud of your, Coffee. No. You don't know how the Michael Jackson rhythm go, but last week we spoke about our very own Michael Jackson, our local Michael Jackson, Getta Jackson, and this week he's back. Check out In What Way. Jamaican dancer Lenora Antoinette Steins filed a lawsuit against Beyonce Knowles Carter and Sean Jay-Z Carter in the court of California to compensate for copyright infringement and a whole lot of art history attack. When I say attack, I mean the rights to publish and publicity and all of those stuff, fine print stuff. And this is how it goes. Stein alleges that she was approached in January by the couple in March of 2018 to help get dancers for a video meant to promote their album and tour. While on set to film the video for Black Effect, she was told she must sign an arrangement in order to participate. She wanted to send a photo of the agreement to her son, who is an attorney in Florida, but was told that she could not do so. Steins was assured that the recording would only be used in the video, which was said to be for promotional purposes. But now the material is being sold and she wants compensation. Are the Carters in hot water, as Jamaicans would say? Well, that's the end of another episode of Entertainment Recap. I'm your host, Alicia. And big up to Ear Candy for my earring. And remember to go follow them at the Ear Candy Collection. And always and forever, big up you.
In regional news, Bahamas Tourism Minister has reportedly said any visitor who manages to make it into the country with a positive COVID-19 test will be turned around and deported. The minister said the government is still working on details after previously saying no one with a positive test would be allowed entry after July 1. Berthany McDermott has the details in this report.
Despite that major announcement by the tourism minister, Dionisio Diagler said today government is still working to address certain issues just 2 weeks ahead of the July 1st reopening date. In the event a COVID-positive person shows up at the country's borders, Diagler says that person will be denied entry.
I can't believe that anybody would be so silly as to go to a country with a positive test. If they do arrive, they will be turned around and deported.
So in terms of deporting, will we be putting that bill or?
I presume that if they're a foreign visitor, they have a return ticket. Whatever it takes to have them deported, they'll be deported.
This as he admitted that the new protocol will no doubt impact tourist arrivals.
It will probably deter some people from coming to the jurisdiction. But, you know, that's the balance you have to play. On the one hand, you can open up the country and allow as many persons as you want into the country and run the risk of making your people sick and having a spike in cases. Or you can have some sort of testing in place to mitigate the possibility of that risk. It's very important for the Bahamian people to know. We can't eliminate the risk. We can just mitigate the risk.
Diagler explained that government is working to devise a system where persons will have to apply online to enter the country. To speed up the process, he said approvals will be given online and at the country's borders by immigration officials. The application, he added, will also assist health officials with contact tracing.
When they apply online, they'll have to upload a copy of their COVID-19 test. Either it will be reviewed prior to their arrival. If it isn't reviewed, when they present themselves at the border, it will be reviewed at that time to make sure that it's the correct test within the correct period.
Prime Minister Dr. Hewitt Minnis ordered the closure of the country's borders in March in an attempt to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. To date, there have been 104 confirmed cases. Then there's the situation of Bahamians looking to travel for short periods. The tourism minister was asked if Bahamians will then be required to get tested for COVID-19 in order to re-enter the country.
So the government is working through that right now, trying to address those issues. There are obviously, I'm going to Florida for the day for medical reasons, or I need to make a 2-day trip, and when I go over there, I can't get the test in time to come back. So the government is trying to address those issues, and in very short order, the health directorate will come out with guidelines on that.
And with the July 1st deadline quickly approaching, the goal is to have all of the kinks fully worked out in hopes of properly facilitating international travel. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Over in St. Lucia, the new academic school year 2020-2021 begins in September, and questions are being raised about the reopening of schools. There are plans for a phased reopening for specific grades, but can it be replicated on a larger scale? Colby DeVoe of HTS News Force has that story.
The Ministry of Education has convened with its stakeholders to plan the way forward for the new school year 2020-2021. Recently, Grade 6 and Form 5 students returned to physical classrooms as they prepared for their Common Entrance and CXC exams, respectively. Chief Education Officer Fiona Phillip-Meyer says the phased reopening has gone smoothly and she is grateful to all parties.
It's even less than 17 days because we've had the holidays in between, but we're very pleased that the phased reopening for our grade 6 and our Form 5s have gone so well. And the biggest thanks and applause goes to our various teachers and administrators at our schools that really went out to follow the guidelines that were promoted and presented and came up with innovative ways to ensure that we had a safe reopening for all of our various stakeholders.
Meyer says spacing is one of the main issues which has arisen, but revealed that there would be individual school plans put forward at the meeting. She announced that currently the intention is to fully reopen school come the new academic year.
Based on the Ministry of Health, we will be able to do a full reopening. Again, I say we have to follow the guidelines as proposed to us by the Chief Medical Officer, and this will always be the cue that we take to ensure that it is safe. If at any point in time they give us guidance otherwise, we will follow suit. But at the moment, we're looking at a total reopening in September with the guidance of all of our stakeholders, including our union and the various National Prisoners Association. As I said, it is school-specific. We understand our role and responsibility to provide education and instruction to our students, and so that's the way forward for us.
Valerie St. Helen Henry, president of the National Principals Association, says the timing of the meeting is opportune as it allows for assessments to be made and a strategy for the reopening to be devised.
This meeting is very important and it has to be timely in that we cannot wait when we get closer to the beginning of the school year to make the plans, and I think now is the best time for all stakeholders to come together to look at where we were in terms of what has happened during the past few weeks and months, take some learning lessons from whether the positive, the negative, re-evaluate, and to us help that whatever data, whatever information we have to forge ahead as we look towards planning for the reopening of school.
The meeting, held at the Stanley John Odlum Memorial School on Thursday, June 18th, was the first meeting comprising of all the stakeholders. Smaller individual meetings will be held in the future. Colby DeVoe, HTS News Force.
In sports, Vice President of the National Parent Teachers Association of Jamaica, Stuart Jacobs, is reportedly calling for the testing of high school athletes to be a prerequisite for youth sports for return in the next school year. Youth sports have felt the effects of the outbreak of COVID-19 since March, with the cancellation of the ISA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships and suspension of other ISA Intersecondary School Sports Association sanctioned competitions. Jacob says that the first priority must be testing for children before any return to competitive sports can be contemplated. And that's our package. Join us again on Monday, same time, same place, for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.